to try and be loud then. Hi, I'm Jane Green, speaking on behalf of Vixen Collective, Victoria's pair-only sex worker organisation, and Scarlet Alliance, Australia's national peak sex worker organisation. I am and have been for more than a decade a sex worker, performer, sex worker, activist, queer and general troublemaker. I am also a survivor of rape. The problem with being a sex worker and survivor of rape is that blame and victimhood are inescapable. Let me elaborate on that for you. First, in terms of victimhood. The logic of much conservative and radical feminist theory dictates that if you are a sex worker, some trauma often assumes you're incapable of making rational decisions about your own needs, desires and life choices. Most specifically, your choice of occupation. This gives other people, particularly a certain type of academic, the right to inform you of your lack of agency, that what you believe to be your chosen path in life is simply false consciousness. Now, I don't like the idea of being a victim, but I'll tell you what I like even less. Other people telling me I'm not allowed to be anything else because I'm a sex worker. So here are some contrasting facts from my life for you. Because it is not okay to blame the survivor of a rape, regardless of the survivor's occupation. I was raped at the age of 6 by a family friend. When I was a child, I never told anyone because of fear. I kept the secret of my rape for years. This is the first time I have spoken publicly of it. This is a fact. This is a fact of my life. It is not a pleasant fact, but it no more contributed to my being a sex worker than it contributed to the fact that I also used to be an accountant. Sex workers who have been raped suffer the same trauma and pain as other rape survivors, but do so in a society that repeatedly tells them their pain is an occupational hazard, blame them for choosing that occupation, and then tell them they lack the capacity to actually make that choice. That is the definition of adding insult to injury, and that is what I mean by blame. And let me tell you something else. I really hated being an accountant. I really hated being an accountant. I really loved being a sex worker. It's not boring. I don't usually have to wear a suit. And if I do, I have cooler suits than I had when I was an accountant. I get to enjoy sex and kink and people in a way I never thought I would growing up. But I do, and sex work helped me with that. But let's get back to blame. When a sex worker says they love their job, they get blamed for that too. Abolitionists and critics like to say, well, you're just a happy hooker, expecting and implying that you're coming from some sort of privilege or pro-sex platform and have nothing in common with the majority of sex workers. Well, here are some more facts from my life for you. I have spent more than 5 years of my life homeless. I have worked in street sex work. I have worked in criminalised environments. I have been raped at work. Rape is not a bad day at work. Rape should not be acceptable in the sex industry, because rape should not be acceptable in any industry or workplace. Hello? There we go. What enables enduring risk to the health... What enables enduring risk to the health and safety of sex workers here in Australia is the willingness of the government to refuse to extend to sex workers the same basic protections and dignities under law that average citizens take for granted. What sustains that risk is the willingness of the public to do nothing when sex workers raise their voices asking for change. Here are some final facts for you. I happen to love my job. Not all sex workers do, just like not all accountants do. And I don't claim to speak for all sex workers because no one can. Sex workers are a diverse community of individuals, with individual voices who do not want to be silenced. And that's the problem. When sex workers are caricatured as victims and blamed, whether they remain within their sanctioned role as victims or express their agency, they are blamed and silenced, and the space and freedom they have as individuals and as a community is reduced. When studies conclude that sex workers across Australia have better sexual health and practice safer sex than the general population, but are subject in Victoria to forced and invasive monthly self-examinations to be able to work, that is an invasion not only against our rights but our bodies. When police are used as the enforcement arm of discriminatory laws against sex workers as they are in Victoria, how can we trust and rely on them to protect us when we are the victims of crime? Abolitionists and proponents of the Swedish or Nordic model would try and sell you the concept that sex work needs to be criminalised to protect sex workers. How am I protected by laws that will deny me the ability to work safely? How am I protected by having less rights than you? Protected by being told what we need rather than ask what we want. I want the same rights, labour rights, human rights as everyone else. Seem fair? Seem reasonable? It's called decriminalisation. It has nothing to do with being a victim. It has nothing to do with blame. And it has everything to do with progress. Yeah!